As a member of the opposition party in Canada, I want to show you what I'm up against to just get basic information out about what the Liberal government is doing. I want to show you what I'm up against, and I'm here to ask for your help. So this was an article that came out a couple of weeks ago, and it says, Liberals taking a fresh look at online harms bill, Justice Minister says. So what this means is that the Liberals are thinking about reintroducing in the fall the next iteration of C-63. You'll remember that even noted Canadian author Margaret Atwood, she had called the bill Orwellian, and this is not a conservative woman. But this article here, it says that they're considering putting it in place again in the fall. So we're going to have to fight that, okay? But what do these censorship bills do? Bill C-18, Bill C-11, and now we're going to try again with this. What it does is it makes it harder for me to get information to you and my colleagues about what the Liberals are doing, right? Because they're trying to suppress voices that dissent against the government. They've done this for years in a variety of ways, but this is what we're up against. And so, folks, this is why it is so important before the fall that you allow me to give you this information in more direct ways. So this is why I write to you. My team and I, we do in-depth research, and we use every tool available to us as parliamentarians so that you can help us get the message out in spite of these bills. There's a link in the comments. If there's one thing you can do to help me fight back, it's click on that link and click subscribe. It is free. It allows me to send you information directly and get around these censorship bills, which have slowly eroded independent voices in Canada's ability to get the word out. Now, I'm going to show you a few other examples on top of these censorship bills of what I face as a parliamentarian to get the word out and to inform you of what's happening within the Liberal government. It's actually shocking. And this is why I am asking for your help this summer by clicking on the link in the comments and clicking subscribe. Look at this. Okay, so there was a story. It was in the National Post. It was, the title was Leaked Audio of CBC Disciplinary Meeting with Former TV Host. So this is a former TV host of CBC. There's still details coming out about this, but in this leaked audio, it was essentially suggested that he was being disciplined because he was questioning some of the salary practices or the bonus practices of the CBC. Now, there's still going to be a lot of details coming out of here, but we know that the CBC, the Canadian Broadcasting Corporation, receives over $1 billion worth of funding from the federal government every year. That a couple of years ago, they actually removed the concept of, quote, objectivity. I'm not making this up, from their journalistic standards and practices, because they said that there's, essentially the case that they were trying to make is that there's, quote, other objectives other than objectivity in presenting the, quote, news to Canadians. So what does that mean in practice? It means, and the allegations in the story is that essentially that the CBC are not allowing a diversity of voices, that they focus particularly in their opinion and in their news shows, their broadcast news loops, presenting just the Liberal government's position on things. So these stories are exploding. And this is why I need you to click subscribe on the link that's in the comments, because it allows me to directly communicate with you and give you information that I get as a parliamentarian. I can't believe I have to have this conversation as a Canadian member of the opposition, but here we are. This is what 10 years of the Liberal government has done to erode freedom of speech and to erode my ability to get the word out to you. This is on top of the Liberals for a decade saying that anybody who questioned their government was, quote, spreading misinformation, when we know that a lot of the work that the opposition does, it's so critical because we inform the public of the waste, of the corruption, of the scandal in the Liberal government, right? But I can't do that when the Liberals are tabling censorship bills, they're pushing more censorship measures, and when they are funding the public broadcaster, and there's this, alleged culture of suppression of non-governmental voices. Let me show you something else. Another reason why I need you to click the link that's in the comments and click subscribe so that I can directly communicate to you. Again, it's free. Close to 100,000 people have signed up for this, but it is not enough. I need to double that to get the impact that these guys have, or anywhere close to what they have in terms of being able to, suppress certain types of voices. Okay, so here's another story. This just came out I believe it was yesterday, CBC hands out record-breaking raises to offset the loss of executive bonuses. Canada's national broadcaster paid $37.7 million in salary raises. So the CBC, not only there's all these allegations about, potentially having conservative voices being suppressed, not only have they removed objectivity from its journalistic standards and practices, but now they're giving bonuses to people who participate in this type of behavior. Do you think that the information that I get out, that I find out in my role as an opposition critic, do you think that the CBC is going to push that stuff? No, of course they don't. They don't want that to come out. This is the story that we hear over and over again. And this is why I need to take the time on top of all of my legislative responsibilities to write to you, to talk to you on formats like this so that I can get the word out. But we know that with the censorship bills, like for example, C18, C11, it actually created a news ban in Canada, which suppressed new independent journalists on platforms like Meta, right? So this is why I need you to click on the link that's in the comments and click subscribe and share this video so that particularly as we get into the fall, as all of this research comes back, as the opposition opposes these things, we can tell you what's happening, okay? There's another story. The Liberals are so excited for this online harms bill in the fall that they're actually fighting between three ministers on who's in charge. So this is a story that was in the middle of June, again from the National Post, that didn't get a lot of play or any play on the CBC. Essentially that there's three different ministers. They're all saying, well, maybe this censorship bill would fall within our portfolio. So they're excited about it, right? I actually tabled a bill at the end of June, right before the Liberals, broke for the summer, that would protect Canadians online without violating their civil liberties. It was a very common sense bill. Did that get picked up by the CBC? No, of course it didn't. But I wrote to people who subscribe to the content that I have on the link in the comments so that you know what conservatives are doing to oppose these bills, right? But I don't get a fair shake, right? Now, there's other stories that come up that show how bad the situation is for opposition politicians in Canada. For example, Blacklock's reporter, a great independent outlet, again, that because of the news ban in Canada on platforms like Meta that the Liberals put in place, they can't come to you and tell you about these things on platforms like Meta. They had a story that showed the amount of subsidies that it's I guess ostensibly a journalistic outlet. It's called the Hill Times. They get huge amounts of subsidies from the federal government. And then they have a propensity to feature very torqued leftist stories. So what's happening is that the Liberal government is giving money, direct subsidies, to outlets like the CBC that has removed objectivity from its journalistic standards and practices, and hard left-wing outlets like the Hill Times, and then they call anybody who questions the government spreading misinformation, right? So this is why I need you to click on the links that it's in the comments. I promise you, my team and I, we spend all day looking for data on what the Liberals have been doing, and when I get that information, I write it up and I send it out to you guys. So this is what I'm trying to do as a parliamentarian, but it doesn't work if I don't have folks subscribing. It allows me to cut out the middleman, algorithmic downgrades on the big social media platforms. So folks, today has been crazy. I've been up since 6 a.m. looking at like 5 different insane immigration stories that are all breaking at the same time. There's, again, a story in Blacklock's that approximately 1 in 5 members of the Canadian workforce are temporary residents. They're not even Canadian citizens. They're not even permanent residents. They're temporary residents on like work permits and stuff. And where is that? Where is that story in the mainstream news? Where is it on CBC being litigated on whether this is right? It's nowhere. But I am writing to you. I am sending you this information with the hope that you will help me get the word out in spite of everything that conservative opposition is up against in terms of censorship, in terms of having this information downgraded or poo-pooed by liberal pundits and spinners that go on the CBC. So folks, I beg you, please click subscribe. The link is in the comments. I promise you I will not be spamming you, but I will be sending you information about not just immigration, but But stories that I see as a parliamentarian that the Liberals are paying no attention to whatsoever, right? So please click subscribe on the link that's in the comments. It will, and if you're watching this on YouTube, in the video description, it will help me do my job as a parliamentarian. I can't believe that I have to have this conversation as a Canadian member of Parliament. Look at what 10 years of the Liberal government has done. And again, now they're thinking about reintroducing this censorship bill in the fall. Working hard for you. Have a great day.